Hi, Anne. It is good to see your smiling face.
Oh, thank you. It's good to see you too.
Well, I don't want to get deep into this, but I do just want to acknowledge that since the last time we talked, your mom has passed away, and I know I speak for everybody who watches this religiously. Our condolences. I've spoken to you privately, but just as a public thing, condolences. That is never. It's the worst thing that you go through, really, is losing a parent, I think. And anyway,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, and I just wanted to say thank you because I posted about it on Facebook, and I got so many kind words, and I just wanted to thank everybody for that because that was really meant a lot for me for people to do that, and I appreciate everyone doing that.
good.
Yeah.
Well, you have a lot of fans, Anne. You have a lot of fans. You're going to have to start showing up at some of the festivals on the circuit because
There you
people are
go.
like, "Where's Anne? Isn't Anne here? We want to meet Anne." I'm no longer the draw. I think it's you.
I doubt that. And just for our YouTube people, if you're new, I am Ann Hawkins. I'm the Director of Communications for the Film Noir Foundation, and this is Eddie Moeller, who is the president of the Film Noir Foundation, and he also hosts Noir Alley on TCM, and he writes books.
Those things. And who's the third member of our group tonight?
That is Emily, my old lady, and I was down in Texas for a week. And when I came home, I actually took the day off work the next day because she missed me so much. So we had a whole day in together. And our friend Ted, who's my movie buddy and also our webmaster for the Film Noir Foundation, took good care of her while I was gone.
Excellent. That's so funny because I can't get away from Tizzy
I know.
because now I have to travel with her and I take her with wherever I go. I just mentioned to you earlier that we're going to L.A. next week, and Tizzy will be making yet another trip to Los Angeles with us. A road trip, and then she'll stay in the hotel, and we'll take her with her when we're wherever restaurant we go to, whatever. She travels with us all the time now.
I think that's so sweet. I would love to have a cat that was calm enough to do that.
She is really, really calm, and it's funny. Like at the airports, they always say, "Wow, do you have to sedate her?" And it's like, no, she's just chill. She's totally chill.
No.
It's weird if people could see like how I can handle this critter.
No.
I mean, I can just scoop her up and toss her around and hold her upside down, and you know, she doesn't squawk at all. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, let's get to some questions here. I think, unless I'm mistaken, I think this is airing the night that I'm actually hosting a whole night of Sterling Hayden movies on Turner
Oh,
Classic Movies.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be some people not watching this when it is first, however we say it, when it airs on Facebook or
Yeah.
appears on Facebook. For the live, we're not live, but the interaction
Yeah.
of people watching, and you are kind enough to go on there and kind of mediate the whole thing. So that will be opposite my Sterling Hayden night on Summer Under the Stars. But we then post on YouTube, right?
Yes. So we base on YouTube's on Fridays. So it'll be Friday the 15th. And just to let people know too, we do have at filmnoirfoundation.org, we have a TV listings page. So on there, it's all the noirs that play each month. And like if Eddie's hosting something, then that gets mentioned if it's not something besides Noir Alley. Just so people know.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
So shall we jump in? Who's gonna start us off on the questions
I'll go
tonight?
first. And this is from Joan and Jim. We recently saw the Elizabeth Scott movie Too Late for Tears, which we enjoyed. We watched Eddie's intros and closing comments on YouTube, which is fantastic, especially the details on finding copies of the film and preservation of the film. We wondered how much time it took to preserve this film in months and years. This was a long
um,
one.
Uh, well, but I will try to not make this a particularly long answer. It was a long time. It took from the beginning of the um, the formation of the Film Noir Foundation. It was right off the bat. It was one of the first films that I knew we wanted to find and try to restore. I was not that familiar with the film, and when I wrote Dark City, the first version of Dark City back in the late 1990s, the film isn't really mentioned in the book because I had not seen it. And I think it was thanks to a fellow named Don Hyde, who had a theater out here in Healdsburg. And I remember talking to Don one time, and he said, "Well, my favorite film noir is Too Late for Tears," and it kind of blew my mind because I'd never even heard of it, let alone seen it. And I wish I could tell you a date for that. But then when we created the foundation and The Prowler was the first movie we restored, um, then it was always on the list. And it was just really, really hard to find elements for it, meaning the original. Well, we never found the original negative, but just finding copies of the film or inner negatives or inner positives or whatever to work with took many years. I would say the foundation was founded in 2005, and I can't exactly remember now when we completed the restoration, but there were a lot of dead ends. Hearing that people had copies of the film and that kind of stuff. One of them we never did get our hands on was a projectionist in Baltimore who supposedly had a really good print of the film, but we couldn't track him down to get it. But we put it all together. So I'm going to say it was at least 10 years. It was at least a 10-year saga to bring that film back. And now I love it that people talk about it like it was always there.
Yeah.
and it's only the people at the Film Noir Foundation know the reality of it. So when fans talk about it, like my favorite Liz Scott movie is Too Late for Tears, blah blah blah. It's like, well, it wasn't before we found and restored it because nobody had seen it, right? So anyway, that's the answer. Thank you for asking the question, Joan and Jim. I haven't seen their name come up on a question before, so that was good to see some new folks. Okay, I'm going to read this one. This is from Bonnie in Cave Creek, Arizona. Here's what Bonnie says. A number of noir films use the plot device of visiting nightclubs somewhere after 40 minutes or so of running time. I like that Bonnie has really investigated this. The interlude provides cocktails, cigarettes, illegal roulette and blackjack, jazz bands, this is interesting. You use the word vocalizers, hot vocalizers. I don't know if that's a word, but I mean, I know there are vocalists, but I kind of like vocalizers. Stare down sessions with the boss's muscle, and of course, the required trip upstairs to go face to face with the boss. I've often thought these side trips were a cheap trick to boost the presumed lagging interest of women in the viewing audience, but that unfairly discredits us serious gal film noir fans. What is your take on these interludes, and what percentage of women? This is funny because this is like a two-part question that at first blush they don't seem to have any connection to each other. But what is your take on these interludes, and what percentage of women do you estimate attend your current day festivals? Let's do this. Let's answer the second part first. What do you think, Anne? I have always contended it's about 50-50.
Yeah, we get a lot of women at our festivals, definitely. And it's the same thing too, like with TCM as well.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, and I think that 50-50 gender split is true of every festival. It's not just in the Bay Area. I see that in Seattle. I see it in LA. In LA, it might be a little bit more male. The audience might be a little more male in LA. but in Chicago and Detroit and Washington, D.C. and Boston, it is 50-50. The women are into this absolutely as much as the men. As for the observation about nightclubs being like a sop to female viewers or something,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I mean, I know that that in movies of that era, it was they very often contrived ways to work musical numbers into the films just because they considered it like part of the entertainment package, so to speak. But Bonnie, this question makes me think that you haven't read Dark City, The Lost World of Film Noir, because there is a whole section in my book about the significance of nightclubs in film noir and like how the really important role they play as a meeting ground between legitimate society and the underworld. That is the purpose that the nightclub serves in film noir. And usually the proprietor of the nightclub is some shady type who is a former crook. I'm sorry, a former crook turned legit. Like Kirk Douglas and I Walk Alone, or Peter Lorre in Black Angel, or Morris Karnofsky in Dead Reckoning. All these nightclub owners are not necessarily on the up and up, but they're rubbing elbows with politicians and all this kind of stuff. So that's why it plays such an important role in noir stories, because obviously they're urban stories, and it's just a place where, as I say, the legit world and the underworld commingle in this environment, which makes it very spicy and exciting. And then of course it gives an opportunity, if the female lead is a canary, it gives her a chance to perform a number. But those are always weird to me because, with rare exceptions, it's somebody else singing the songs other than the actress, right? Do you have a do you have any favorite nightclubs or nightclub performances in film noir?
Oh, well, I mean, it's an important part of Black Angel. It really plays an important part to the story. So I think it's one of the best uses of a
Right.
nightclub. And then I think probably performance wise, In a Lonely Place, that's probably
Oh
my
yeah,
favorite nightclub performance.
that's great. Hannah Brooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because she's like a featured performer who's legit. I mean,
Yeah.
she's could really sing. Uh, but it's not, that's her one scene in the movie. And there's also like I think Marie Bryant, I think, is the one who sings Your Red Wagon and They Live by Night, another Nick Ray picture, because he was always really good about putting authentic music in his club scenes and stuff. So that's a pretty good scene as well. Obviously, Rita Hayworth in Gilda is great, but that's not her singing. So it's anyway.
Yeah.
It's a very curious question, Bonnie, because what you're suggesting had never occurred to me before, but that's probably because I was looking at this to find, from a writer's standpoint, like, why are there so many nightclub scenes in film noir? And you just heard the answer I came up with. But it's interesting from a viewer's perspective to just think, oh, this must be the point where they've run out of story and they're going to go to the nightclub and give somebody a chance to sing. And yeah, I can understand where you're coming from with that, but I'm
But
sure
there's a
that was the case in some movies, but certainly not all of them.
Yeah, and I think too, people just people used to be more into music than they are now. I mean, just in terms of like when I was growing up, my dad always made us watch Lawrence Welk and stuff like in variety shows. We even watched Hee Haw. I mean, people just used to like to have music as part of their entertainment.
Oh,
And,
absolutely. Well, it's incredible when you think about how. I caught just the end of this, I think, in my young life, because my mom liked to play the piano and the
Yeah.
organ and stuff, and she'd get sheet music, she'd buy sheet
Yeah.
music, which was a really really common thing. There was a popular song you'd hear on the radio, and then people would go out and buy the sheet music and learn to play it themselves at home, usually on a piano or something. And it's interesting to me that that is just not a real part of the culture
Yeah.
anymore.
I have a friend, and Brennan and I, Brennan and I were dating, we went over to my friend Dave and Penny's house, and after we had dinner, it was so adorable because like Dave was playing the piano, and Penny was like, you know, moving the sheet music to the next page, and we were just both like, every pot has its lid. But it was amazing because people just don't
Yeah,
do that anymore, and it was really nice, kind of into the evening.
yeah, absolutely. When I was a kid, there was a woman who was a friend of my mom's, and we'd go over to her house for dinner, and everybody would gather around her piano, and she'd play, and everybody would sing.
Yeah.
That was like a night's entertainment. Everybody would sing song. Remember this one? And then and it's like, wow, nothing like that happens anymore. So I don't know what the deal is, but I don't get me started. But it,
Yeah.
it is one of those. To me, that was a great part of the culture that has fallen by the wayside. Anyway,
Even yeah, and just on the women and noir thing, it was interesting though because I was watching something about Laura, and they were talking about like how the clothes for Laura really were an enticement to women. That was very deliberate on the production's point of view because it was just after the war and fabric rationing had stopped, and so all her incredible clothes and stuff like that was definitely with the women in the audience in mind.
yeah, I don't I don't quite understand why people might think that film noir isn't something that would appeal to women. I mean, there's barely a film noir story that exists without female characters. I mean, The Hitchhiker, okay,
Yeah,
Crossfire. But I mean, Gloria Graham is great in Crossfire, but
yeah.
it's kind of a thankless role in a way. But otherwise, I just think like it was always a misnomer that the women were the bad women, and so why would women want to watch this? Which, as we know, if people have been watching this for a while, or watching Noir Alley, or reading my books, they'll know that that whole thing is just a complete bogus myth about the women in film noir.
Well, and
Uh,
they cast women that were very popular with women. I mean, women liked Barbara Stanwyck and Joan Crawford.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. And Ida Lupino and
yeah,
Ann Sheridan was just as
yeah.
popular with women as she was with men. And I've spoken about Ella Raines a bunch of times about how she was like if ever there was a role model in the 1940s for a modern progressive young woman, it was Ella Raines. She never played a femme fatale. She was, magazine publisher, fashion designer, all this kind of stuff. She's the detective in Phantom Lady, right? So, yeah, but that's interesting. Interesting take that Bonnie had on nightclubs as like respites in the story, whereas my take on it is they're kind of essential to a lot of the stories.
Okay, and our friend Carlton from Atlanta writes, as we are about to enter TCM Summer Under the Stars 2025, if you could program a Noir Summer Under the Stars, who are the 31? We're not going to do 31, Carlton. We'll do a couple.
No, 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 no.
Who are the 31 North Stars who would be worth a full day? One of my definites would be Raymond Burr. Thinking of lesser known stars, Elisha Cook Jr., Sidney Greenstreet, Elizabeth Scott, any other Dark City dames come to mind. I'm guessing you need a bank of at least 10 to 12 movies per star.
Well, Carlton, here's the deal. You're No offense, my friend, but you're never going to be a programmer on TCM, because I can tell you right now that an Elijah Cook Jr. day on TCM is not going to work. because as much as you advertise it, that's a guy who never had a substantial role in his entire film career, right? You maybe could get away with showing the killing
Yeah.
on Elijah Cook Jr. Day, but otherwise, how can you present it as the film when the guy is in it for like a total of 8 minutes of screen time or something, right?
Yeah.
Um, so immediately I see this question and my mind starts going to like, well, who's made over 10 or 12 movies where it would just be noir all day long? And the answer is guys like Whit Bissell,
Yeah.
right? But Whit Bissell is in one scene. He's the bartender in one scene, in the movie.
I mean, you could do
And
Dan Duryea.
you totally do, Dan. Okay, so you get my drift. It's
Yeah.
like you can't really take Percy Hilton,
Right.
or Esther Howard or someone like that and give them a day because you'd never have enough substantial roles for them to, it's kind of like a blink and you'll miss it with Whit Bissell in a lot of these movies. But having said that, let's give this a shot. Like, let's see if we can come up with like eight leading men, eight leading women, and then some. I think there has been a Sydney Greenstreet star of the day in
Yeah, I
Summer
think
Under
there
the
has
Stars.
been.
But
Yeah.
here's the trick about this, Carlton, and this is very true of like the the night I'm doing right now on TCM to honor Sterling Hayden. Yeah, there is a lot of film noir in there, but that's not all it is because
Yeah.
there's a lot of westerns and there's a lot of war movies
Yeah.
as well, right? And Dr. Strangelove. So, that's a different kind of a thing. So it's not like you can program just film noir. And I know that's what he is suggesting here, a noir Summer Under the Stars. And I realize he's having fun with this and I'm taking it too literally, but let's do it. Okay. Obviously Bogart is number one.
Yeah.
You can fill out a day easily.
And Barbara Stanwyck.
But okay, let's do it this way. I'll do the guys, you do
I do the girls.
Okay. Okay. So Bogart and Stanwyck right off the bat. I would go with Robert Mitchum, definitely.
I think Marie Windsor, would there be enough?
Yeah, of course. Yes. Yeah, there would be enough Marie Windsor. She is just on that borderline. When you think of things like Force of Evil, where the role is just big enough that even though she's not the second female lead, Beatrice Pearson is, but she's got enough good scenes and makes enough of an impact in the movie that you could show it as part of Marie Day. Plus, Marie did a lot of where she's the lead in a lot of really, B,
Yeah.
no Man's Woman and Double Deal and all this kind of stuff. Or is that what it's called? Double Deal or Double Jeopardy or something? So you could definitely fill out a lot of noir with Marie. Okay, I'm going to say Robert Ryan.
Barbara
Probably.
Yeah, Barbara Stanwyck.
You already
Since
did Barbara Stanwyck.
We already did Barbara Stanwyck. I know, but that was before we started listening to them. Okay, we already did Barbara Stanwyck. Joan Crawford.
Joan Crawford for sure. I'm going to say Richard Conte. Certainly enough noir to give Richard Conte a day of his own. I think Richard Conte is creeping up on probably the most starring roles in noir that I've shown on Noir Alley. I think he has been the most featured actor on Noir Alley, or he will be before this year is out because I've got two more of his movies coming up. Okay, so we've got, who do we got? Stanwyck, Marie Windsor, Joan Crawford. I can do the women very easily because I wrote a book about them.
Yeah, well, I mean, Evelyn Keyes.
Evelyn Keyes could certainly qualify, but you're not going to fill out a full day.
Not a day, though.
No. But enough. I think if you can, I'm going to cut it at like 6. If you can get 6 movies and like make a prime time thing out of it,
okay,
you maybe could get away with that. But I mean, she was in Face Behind the Mask with Peter Lorre. That's a film noir, right? I could probably convince people that Mr. Soft Touch,
I was going to say
with
Mr.
Glenn
Soft
Ford is a film noir. I've shown it at Noir City, right? The Prowler and Johnny O'Clock and Hell's Half Acre and 99 River Street. There's 6 right there.
There you go.
So Not bad. Um, Dan Duryea, you mentioned Duryea. I
Yeah.
think he definitely works. And I would say probably, well, what's interesting is I'm tempted to say Richard Widmark, but once you get out of the 40s,
Yeah, he didn't.
there isn't much
Yeah,
noir once you're out of I mean, pick up on South Street, right? And
yeah,
then you'd be stretching it to include stuff like Hell and High Water, and which is not a film noir in any way, shape, or form. But uh, you know, of course, I'd pick Belita,
yeah.
but she didn't even make 12 films, I think, in her entire
I
career.
know, but the couple
So,
noirs she did were really good.
but that's just me.
Yeah.
Um, okay,
Oh, and Joan
have we
Bennett.
Oh, Joan Bennett, of
Yeah,
course. But yeah, perfect, perfect. Yeah, you can't forget Joan Bennett. And then surprising choices like, and this is all coming from my Dark City Dames book, but
yeah,
Rhonda Fleming
yeah,
was in a lot of film noir movies. If you start throwing in stuff like Spellbound and The Spiral Staircase and she didn't have big roles, not the star of those movies,
yeah.
but would Out of the Past work as a Rhonda Fleming movie? I don't know. I
A
mean,
little bit of a fish.
but what's interesting is she made way more noir than Jane Greer, and yet nobody has a problem with Jane
Yeah,
Greer, right? Because she would just be obviously Out of the Past, and They Won't Believe Me, and you could probably get The Big Steal in there, and then you'd have to be cheating and jumping ahead to later stuff that she did when she was much older, but
yeah,
which are
yeah.
kind of noir homage movies. But anyway,
And
I,
Audrey
I
Totter. Just want to throw that
Audrey
one.
Totter, good one. Liz Scott,
Yeah.
you mentioned Liz Scott, and amongst the guys, I don't know, is there somebody I'm missing who's an obvious?
Did we say Peter Lorre?
We did not say Peter Lorre,
Yeah,
and that's a really good one.
yeah,
That Peter Lorre would be excellent. Um, I don't know. I'm kind of
yeah.
wearing out on this now. So
Yeah. We're only getting 31 if we split the days.
yeah, exactly,
We could do a
exactly.
couple people a day, then we could really do people like Beverly Michaels and stuff like that, which would be fun. We could do the
Yeah.
B, like we could do the B girls in one day.
Well, that's a really good idea. Beverly Michaels is a great outlier
No,
because there are a number of films that would qualify there.
no,
But what's funny with her is because she was like later, she was in the 50s,
yeah,
so the look of her films they don't feel like noir the
yeah,
way Joan Bennett's movies do,
yeah,
but they are,
yeah,
and Beverly Michaels just got better and better as she made movies, and then she
yeah,
just quit.
yeah,
Right by the time she made Crash Out, where she's like the only woman in the film, she gives a really good performance. She just has one scene in the movie, two scenes maybe, but she's terrific. Anyway,
yeah.
that was a good question, Carlton. And I realize I took it way too seriously, but hey, that's what I'm paid for. Okay. Oh, how funny. So Brian, this question is from Brian in Toronto. And it's funny because it's almost like you were reading my mind, Anne, because he says here, I am watching The Outfit, 1973, for the first time. And it's interesting to see Elijah Cook, Timothy Carey, and a few other familiar faces. I was just wondering about Eddie's thoughts on it and other early 70s neo noirs, particularly ones like this that went out of their way to cast actors from classic noir films. Well, it's interesting, Brian, that you left out Marie Windsor and Jane Greer are both in The Outfit,
Oh wow.
as well as Elijah Cook and Tim Carey. And that was the film that I was thinking of when I said, you have to jump ahead with Jane Greer to get to another noir film that she made. She only has one scene in The Outfit, but she's terrific. As like Marie Windsor has one scene as well. But yeah, I don't consider that to be stunt casting. I just consider that to be very smart and savvy casting by somebody who clearly knew his noir. That was John Flynn, I believe, was the director of that film who picked all those folks, and it's good. I like The Outfit very much. Have you ever seen it?
No, but I'm going to have to now.
Yeah, it's based on a Donald West. It's based on a Donald Westlake novel with the same character that Lee Marvin plays in Point Blank. It's
Oh, okay.
a hunter novel, and and anyway, it's really, and Robert Duvall. So it's interesting to see these two new kind of hard cases. Robert Duvall and Joe Don Baker are like the guys who team up to take on the mob. And this, it's a lot like the plot is a lot like Charlie Varick because it has to do with my recollection, you know, robbing from the mafia,
Yeah.
and then having to deal with the consequences. And yeah, it's a good movie. It's a really good movie. Karen Black is in it. Robert Duvall, Joe Don Baker, and Robert Ryan is in it as well. So yeah, everybody around the three leads are all like older film noir people, and it's pretty entertaining. And by and large, I always was amused by those movies when I would see them. Like later this year on TCM, I'm showing The Late Show. Have you ever
Yeah.
seen The Late Show with Art
No, it's
Carney?
been on my list forever.
It's really fun. And it's not that there's a lot of old noir actors in it, except Howard Duff. Howard Duff is in it, and it's a very much a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Uh, I was going to say a send up, but it's not. It's a very affectionate film about Art Carney plays a private eye in L.A. who lived through the classic noir era,
Yeah.
when, you know, and now he's an older man. And I always loved Art Carney because he was of indeterminate age, you know.
Hmm.
I mean, he ended up playing all these old men, you know, after the honeymooners and all that stuff. He had this whole wonderful second half of his career where, you know, he won an Oscar for Harry and Tonto, and but he played old guys, and he actually wasn't that old.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
he's playing guys who are like in their late 70s, and Art Carney was like 52 years old or something, you know. He just had that look that, and he's terrific in The Late Show, which is a film I really, really enjoy. Anyway, it's amusing because nobody really tries to do the old 40s thing in it except Joanna Cassidy, who
Yeah.
was in like every movie made in the 70s. Joanna Cassidy seemed to be in it, and she plays the part exactly like she's Marie Windsor
Yeah.
in a 40s movie. And it just shows you how fake that, how rich that is. Like people
Yeah.
don't actually talk like that, you know,
Yeah.
because everybody else in the movie is normal, and she's actually delivering film noir dialogue. It's pretty amusing. Okay.
Okay. By the way, Marie Windsor and Elisha Cook Jr. play a married couple in the TV miniseries of Salem's Lot.
Okay.
Just I
Wow.
don't that just popped in my head.
Well, that's good knowledge. That's which I have not seen.
Yeah.
That was the one that Toby Hooper directed,
Yeah. You've
right?
never
Yeah.
seen that? It's
I have
great.
never seen it. I've never, and
Yeah.
Sam Fuller's in it,
No,
right?
he's
Sam.
in Return to Salem's Lot, and he's
Oh, okay.
awesome, which is Larry Cohen film.
Okay. See, I've only seen Sam's scenes
Yeah.
in that movie, and so that's why I confused it. I didn't know that, you know, he plays a vampire hunter, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
awesome in it. He's great. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know that Sam was originally Francis Coppola's first choice to play Meyer Lansky, or not Meyer Lansky. Well, he wasn't called Meyer Lansky in Godfather 2. He was called Hyman Roth,
Yeah.
but it's basically the Meyer Lansky character.
Yeah.
And he ended up casting Lee Strasberg instead.
Yeah.
But if you go on YouTube, you can actually find Sam Fuller's audition
Oh my goodness.
for the role of Hyman Roth in Godfather 2. It's pretty cool. He would have been great. He would have
Yeah.
been great. I have no problem whatsoever with Lee Strasberg's performance. He's wonderful in the movie. But Sam is a little. He
Yeah.
couldn't act as tired is they clearly wanted Hyman Roth to sing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's an old gangster dying. He's down in Florida, or in and he just couldn't do it. Sam had just had too much energy. He was playing it with the big cigar and everything, and just too much presence.
No.
Uh,
Okay, this is
who's ready?
Ken from
Oh,
Oklahoma. In the classic era, what film noir do either of you consider to be the most surprisingly successful at the box office? I ask this question both in terms of film being surprisingly successful for a studio and in terms of your personal taste in film noir.
huh. Interesting question, Ken. This is a hard question to answer because it's not that easy to find box office figures. I mean, I guess you can. You can go online and just say what were the highest grossing films of 1946 or 47 or something like that. And but highest grossing and surprisingly successful are two different things, right? I mean, I've always maintained that The Postman Always Rings Twice was the most successful noir of the classic era. Gilda was pretty successful as well. Then you get into stuff that's like, is that really a film noir? When you start getting into the Alfred Hitchcock movies like Notorious and Spellbound and stuff like that, are they really film noir? Or are people going because it's a Hitchcock movie? Um,
Was Sunset Boulevard was that successful?
no,
Yeah, I
no.
wondered that.
I just did a very very long conversation about Sunset Boulevard that will be posting links to it online. There's a show called Cineversary, which a guy named Eric Martin hosts, and he picks a movie that's having an anniversary to celebrate it and talk about it. And so he and I had just talked about Sunset Boulevard because it is the 75th anniversary of that movie. But it's interesting that I don't really think it did that well at the box office.
Yeah,
I think it was too weird
yeah.
for the American public at the time it came out. They didn't really know what to make of it. Uh, Certainly not the case now, because I know it just. I was very pleased to read a thing on social media the other day because um, what's the name of the company? Fathom
Yeah.
uh, just did a 1 day screening of Sunset Boulevard at theaters around the country. And I saw someone post and say they were really, really thrilled. The audience, theater wasn't packed by any means, but at the start, they were very nervous because it was a younger audience. Everybody had their phones out and all that. And by the end, you could hear a pin drop and everybody applauded when the movie was over, which nobody does that anymore,
Yeah.
right? Nobody applauds at the end of a new movie, but they always applaud at the end of a revival screening. At Noir City, I don't want to say it's standard for the audience to applaud at the end of films because there's nobody's asking them to.
Yeah.
They just do because I think part of the reason is because they appreciate that it's not easy to get these older films up on a big screen anymore. So they're, in addition to saying that was a great movie, they're also just, even when the movie's not great, they're applauding because they appreciate that the experience has been offered to them to see an older film the way it was meant to be seen. But isn't it interesting that I don't know, I haven't seen Superman or any of that, but even when a movie is great and you see it and it's like that was great, people don't applaud it anymore.
Yeah.
Even if it was like the best picture nominee or something, they're not going to give it up at the end of the film because they think they think for some reason that they're going to look like a rube
Yeah.
in the auditorium. Whereas at Noir City, people know that everybody here is like me. So
Yeah.
it's okay to applaud, right? And
Yeah.
and we can let our feelings be known. But it's just interesting that I cannot recall the last time I heard applause in a movie theater, or I applauded in a movie theater. I think I may have applauded when I saw the Dylan film, A Complete Unknown, but just out of respect for the guy's performance, Timothy Chalamet. His performance as Bob Dylan was worth a round of applause. Like, that's a tough thing, man. You're
Yeah.
going to go out there and play Bob Dylan for 2 hours. He did a fine job.
Okay, are you
Anyway.
ready for a lightning round?
Oh yes. Okay. I was going to say, are we doing a lightning round? Okay.
We are doing a lightning round. I'm just
Let's rip.
springing it on you. Okay, this is
Okay. Very good.
our friend Alan from Anselmo.
San
Uh,
Anselmo. Yes.
San Anselmo. After recording on Zoom, do you watch it again? Do you ever read what your fans write in the chat box, Eddie? I know Ann does. She watches the recording while we watch.
Uh, very rare. Very rarely. Was that lightning round enough for you?
That's
Very
lightning.
rarely. But then I don't watch Noir Alley stuff, and I don't really. Once I do it, it's done.
Okay. And this is Valerie from Seattle. Curiously, not my sister Valerie from Seattle, but a different Valerie from Seattle. I saw Union Station at the 2024 North City Festival in Seattle. I really enjoyed the scene where Barry Fitzgerald makes drinks for himself and William Holden, and then switches glasses to give himself the bigger one. What is the drink in the general recipe?
What is the drink? And
In the general
oh,
recipe.
oh God, I wish I remembered. I know the scene she's talking about, but I don't actually remember what they were making.
Yeah.
I don't know. It couldn't be that complicated because they never let anybody spend that much time making a drink. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that it's a mixed drink. Usually, usually, let's face it, in a film noir, if people are drinking in their home, they're not, unless they're affluent and it's like a showy scene where they're having a servant, a butler or somebody make cocktails. They're not going to be making mixed drinks. They're just going to be drinking something, or maybe using one of the
The little
seltzer
siphons.
bottles,
Yeah.
to siphon to like shoot some soda into it or something. Maybe that's what he was doing, and it would just be scotch and soda.
Yeah.
But other than that, you don't really see him making Manhattans, or Nick Charles. You may see Nick Charles making a Manhattan or a martini, but generally that stuff is left to the bartenders in the clubs. So, gee, I wish I could tell you what it was that he was drinking, but
Awesome.
I'm blowing the whole
You're
concept of
blowing the whole concept. Malvina asks, I love Dark City Dames. Any chance for Dark City Guys?
uh, never say never, but at the present time, no.
Yeah. And this is from JMO from Hartford. I attended North City in June at the Brattle in Boston for the third time and asked Foster Hirsch a question that he was unable to answer. I'm hoping that you will be able to provide one. In
The
several
pressure's
North,
on.
yeah, in several North films as well as many other movies of the 30s and 40s, when a character pulls out of up to a curb and parks their car, they frequently exit the car from the passenger door or the driver's side. Go ahead.
This is the third time we've had
This is
this
the third. That's
question.
why I put in the speed round.
Like, what is up with that? It's because they had bench seats in cars, and because it saves so much time having the actor slide across and get out on the sidewalk rather than open the door into traffic, which also I'm sure somebody at the production code was probably saying, we don't want to show people exiting into traffic because it's going to set a bad precedent or blah, 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 whatever. So if they could slide across, they would. And I'm trying to remember, because my family, when I grew up, we had a bench seat. We had a lot of cars that had bench seats, a Buick Riviera and a Chevy station wagon, and they both had bench seats in the front. And I'm just trying to remember if there was ever a time when somebody slid. I don't know, but that was the reason. It just was time saving.
Okay, and this is from Jason. I saw Hardly a Criminal 1959 at the recent North City Boston. I wanted to, but nowhere to be found. I wanted to. Oh, sorry. I think I'm. This seems to be part of the question machine. Oh, anyway, I saw Hardly a Criminal and wanted to watch it again. We watched a UCLA's 35 millimeter print. Will it be released? Any news?
Um, the 35 millimeter print of Hardly a Criminal, the Film Noir Foundation preserved that, but we did not restore it. And we generally like to put out restorations. It played on the Criterion Channel when Imogen Sarah Smith curated a selection of Argentine noir films that were all from the Film Noir Foundation. Well, not Native Son was not, um, but I don't know. I don't know if we, at this point, I'm more interested in new films and not going back and read. We did do that once before with El Vampiro Negro, where we had a preservation and then went back and did a full restoration because we found original materials that were better than what we had the first time around. So that's why we did it. But we have not found those better materials for Hardly a Criminal. Now, we could just go in and digitally try to enhance and restore what we've done previously. But at the moment, I don't know if that's a good use of our funds.
Eh,
So no immediate plans.
Okay, we're back to our regular scheduled programming. We're on
Oh,
question
okay,
six for
okay.
you to read.
Wasn't quite as lightning round as I thought because I talk too much. Okay. Is it for me?
Yes.
Okay, this is David from Carmel Valley, California. There were a lot of firearms in films during the noir era. Good observation. I cannot imagine that gun safety then was as stringent as it is today. In your research, have you ever seen any reports of gunplay accidents while filming noir pictures? I see films like Gun Crazy, where the actors have their fingers on the triggers and are sweeping the muzzle past other actors. Seems ripe for accidents. Yes, I know they were firing blanks, says David in Carmel Valley. It's interesting, David. You're a film noir fan, clearly, but um, it would be westerns, I think, where you would have much more chance for accidents, or war movies where you'd have many more chances for accidents in the classic era. Because let's face it, in film noir, the gun comes out as like that's the big moment, right? But in westerns and in war movies, they're out all the time. I mean, the odds of an accident were incredible. But I don't think so, because I think there was very much control. Remember, they're doing this 9 times out of 10 in studios where they have people overseeing this, and the weapons are coming straight from a prop department. And there's a guy right there. This is not on location stuff where the guns are out of anybody's sight. And not to be weird about this, but also you'd never know if there was an accident because the studio would totally cover it up. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
biggest difference between then and now is, when they had that accident on Rust, and Alec Baldwin's gun went off. Uh, that's an independently made film done on location, where as much as you try to keep control over everything, there's still always the slight chance of something going wrong, like the accident that killed Brandon Lee, when he was making The Crow. And that can always happen. If that had happened, I mean, obviously they can't cover it up when you're killing a major star. But let's face it, the studios back then had ways of covering up accidents to people who the public didn't know. I mean, if you added up all the vehicular manslaughter incidents involving actual known uh, writers, actors, and directors, you could do an entire book about it. But gunshots, I've never heard of one. Never heard of one from the classic era, but that doesn't surprise me, like I say, because the studio is that's never gonna get out of the studio.
Okay, so this is Dave from Tallahassee. Curious if either Eddie or Anne are familiar with Tartan Noir. These are Scottish focused novels and associated TV shows, including Ian Rankin, Denise Val
It's
McDermott.
Denise Mina. I know. I think
You know,
I glanced at that, and yes, it's Denise Mina. Her name just got dropped off.
Christopher Brookmeyer. I asked as there are two recent Tartan Noir related events, the new Rebus BBC show based on Rankin's series, and Mina's
Denise
Denise
Mina.
Mina's Denise Miner's recent Philip Marlowe novel, The Second Murderer. Any thoughts on either of the genre? Any UK Scottish related classic era film noir you'd recommend?
Uh, Interesting. Yes, I'm clearly familiar with what has been called Tartan Noir, which is kind of a strange misnomer. I think it's a lot of writers that get lumped into these groups end up kind of bristling against it. Uh, because it's not really a thing. It's just a labeling thing that they're able to do. But Ian Rankin is great. I mean, I knew him a little bit years ago because when I first started writing crime fiction, we were always at the same events together. I was much better friends with Denise Mina, um, and I like all their books. I've read. Val is a really good writer, Val McDermott, but I've read more of Denise's books than anybody else on that list, and they're highly recommended. Her Garnet Hill trilogy is modern classic, and just everything she writes is good. And I did read her new Philip Marlowe novel, which I liked very much. I thought it was really an interesting take. I liked it much better than John Banville's The Black Eyed Blonde, which was the other one. You know, they're letting writers come in, and I think Denise has a 3-book deal, so I think there's going to be some more Marlowe coming out. I'd be very curious to know how they sell because I would bet you anything there's a there's a strata of hard-boiled crime fiction fans who are too testosterone driven, and they probably would reject outright the idea of a woman writing Philip Marlowe. And it's their loss because I think what Denise does with the characters it was very interesting. Not just the character, but what she chose to write about in Los Angeles was very interesting. So, yeah. And as for other UK, it's funny now it starts to get from Scotland into just UK Scottish related classic era film noir. I don't know of any Scottish film noir to be honest with you, but in the UK, I mean, there's all kinds. I mean, Odd Man Out, for God's sakes, is a absolute classic, and there's a lot, obvious ones like Brighton Rock and The Third Man and Odd Man Out, but there's lesser known stuff like The Silk Noose. That was like a quota quickie. It Always Rains on Sunday is great. All the Basil Dearden movies from the 1950s, League of Gentlemen and Victim and Sapphire. Those are all really good films. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of British noir that can be delved into, and of course there was all that stuff that when they were trading actors and actresses, and American actors would go to England. Like Gloria Graham made The Good Die Young
Yeah.
with Lawrence Harvey in England, and Dane Clark made a few movies in England, and Alec Nichol made pictures in England.
Duryea did a
Uh,
couple.
yeah, Dan Duryea did some movies in England.
And
I
then
think
before Hammer, yeah,
Terror Street or something
yeah.
like that. Isn't that one? Yeah.
And Hammer, before they went into horror films, made a bunch of noirs that are really
Yeah.
quite
Yeah,
good, actually.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of British noir to be considered.
And also for Scottish books, the Case Histories was the first of a series, and those are fantastic books. And they did do a TV show out of it at one point, which was good too. But yeah, I
And where do I
recommend
where
it.
do I find these? Who wrote this?
I want to say Kate Atkinson. I'm
Kate
going
Atkinson.
off the top of my head, but
It's
yeah,
called
it's
The
called
Case Histories.
The Case Histories is the first one, and it turned into a series. And I really, really like those books. She's an excellent writer.
Cool.
Hopefully, I got her name right.
Thank you for the recommendation. I will look that up. Okay, it would not be the show would not be complete without a question from Michael in Post Falls,
Exactly.
Idaho. And here is his question. A couple of years ago, a viewer asked Eddie, Michael's got a good memory.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, a viewer asked Eddie to recommend contemporary crime authors to read. Among those he suggested was Charlie Houston. Though my woefully inadequate local library system only had 3 of his works, I'm going to be honest with you, Michael, that's pretty good. If they had 3 of Charlie's books and you're in Post Falls, Idaho, I think that's pretty good. One title stood out: The Mystic Arts of Erasing All Signs of Death. I particularly liked how the title described not only what the book was about literally, but figuratively. It's about a guy who gets a job cleaning up crime scenes.
Oh, okay.
Have either of you read it? Since the main character has issues which lead him to make poor decisions, among them falling for and helping an attractive young woman involved in nefarious activities, wouldn't this make a perfect modern day noir film? Well, Michael, it's been done.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
They actually did make that into a film called just All Signs of Death, I think is what it ended up being called. And it's probably, I don't know, I'm going to say it's 15 years old.
Okay.
It's probably made in 2008 or thereabouts. And it was by Alan Ball did it, the guy who did American Beauty and created 6 Feet Under, the TV series.
Oh, okay.
He adapted that. Now, here's the deal. I have read the book, but I have not seen the movie, so I do not know if the movie is any good. But Charlie has a new movie coming out. Gosh, I'm trying to remember who's directing it. It's called Caught Stealing, and Austin Butler is the star. And wow, I can't for the life of me remember who the director is, but it's somebody I know and is pretty decent. I mean, I don't know them. I mean, when I saw it, I said, "Oh, not bad. Good going, Charlie." Anyway, yeah, Charlie's a good guy. I haven't seen him in ages, but I know he used to live in New York and now he lives in LA, and he's developed a lot of stuff for television, and he also wrote for comic books, and he was a genre jumper because he would do sci-fi and horror, and he had a whole horror series. I think the character's name was Joe Pike, if my memory serves, and he did those, and he did crime novels as well. So Charlie was a very, very prolific and very savvy writer. I remember he and I we have the distinction of when Megan Abbott edited her book, A Hell of a Woman, which was an anthology of noir short stories with female protagonists. Charlie and I were the only 2 male writers that she invited to contribute to the anthology. So that was kind of cool.
And by the way, it's Kate Atkinson that did that book series, not Atkinson's for Case Histories.
I think that's what you said.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what you said.
Okay. Phil from Boston. What actor or director do you feel needs a quality biography?
None. Oh, sorry. I thought we were still in the lightning round. No. Well, here's the thing. I don't know. I am assuming that Phil is talking about, noir related actors and directors and things like that. And I don't really, I don't know how much will be gained by going over a lot of the similar ground. I mean, I'd like what's her name, Virginia, whatever her name is, to come out with the second volume of her Barbara
Barbara
Stanwyck
Stanwyck book.
biography. I wouldn't mind it if that
I would
happened
like that
someday.
too.
No pressure. I understand the pressure, but yeah, I wouldn't mind reading that since the first one never even got to Double Indemnity.
Yeah.
So, but the person here's the thing. I want to read a biography about somebody who isn't an actor or a director. When I do my research, it's astounding to me that 9 times out of 10, when I'm reading about the development of somebody's career in Hollywood, I come across the name Charles Feldman. Charles, who was like a behind the scenes player and an agent. And, I think he was one of the founders of Creative Artists Agency. And I just think that nobody knows enough about Charles Feldman and who he was and the significant role he played in the history of classic Hollywood.
Yeah.
So that would be my choice, a book about Charlie Feldman. And everybody in Hollywood knew him. So it's not like it's not like he was a mystery man or there would be a shortage of information about him. It's just that he occupied a strata of the business that was so behind the scenes that it never occurred to the public to ask any questions about who this guy was. But that's who I'd like to read a book about. I'm not going to write it. I'm not going to write it, but I would love to read it. Okay, so last one, Gary from Brooklyn. I have a hypothetical question for the both of you. Imagine one dark and rainy night on the seedy streets of Noir Alley. I love how you always put these hypotheticals at the end.
Well, yeah, because they're fun to go out on.
Yeah, okay. Imagine one dark and rainy night on the seedy streets of Noir City. You get the most terrible, shocking news. Your partner on Ask Eddie and Ann has gone missing. Which film noir detective are you hiring to find them? Ann, I think I know your answer. I know what your answer would be if he didn't qualify it by saying film noir detective. But what's your
Actually,
answer?
it's so funny because what my answer initially was Sam Spade, right? Because he's local. I live in San Francisco. His office is in walking distance from where I live.
That makes sense.
But when I was walking home the other day, I realized, no, I'd actually prefer to have the Continental op because I could trust the Continental op.
Yeah, there you go. Good point. Good point. Total professional who doesn't get waylaid by things in the course of
Right. He's not going to
investigating.
get distracted. He will just find you. I don't have to worry
But
about anything.
but it's funny because they never actually made a film of the Continental Op.
Yeah.
Which listening, Lee. So anyway, that's an inside joke, but it's tricky because he had no name.
Yeah.
So if they were going to do a Continental Op story, they'd have to give the guy, obviously they'd have to give him a name.
Yeah.
But I love a lot of those stories. Some of those.
He's great. I mean, one of my all-time favorite things in any book is he's talking to this woman who is a suspect, and she's sort of kind of coming on to him, and he just thinks to himself, where do women get this idea? And that's exactly why I'd send him to go find you. You don't have to worry about distractions.
Yep. He was just a pro. He was
a pro. And he probably wouldn't be that expensive either.
Yeah. I mean, you have to go through the agency, well, I'm going to say, I don't know. Mary Ryan Detective.
All right.
Send Marsha Hunt after.
All right. A sister.
I think, yeah. I saw the other day that I forgot that there was somebody a long time ago asked about female detectives in film noir, and I remember saying Mary Ryan detective, and of course, that Ella Raines is the detective in Phantom Lady,
No.
but I forgot that there was another one, and I'm going to kick myself now because I can't remember the actress who played the role, but I'm sure people who are watching this will know. I think the character was Kitty O'Day, and it was a short. I think it only lasted two films, two or
Yeah.
three films, but it was earlier than Mary Ryan Detective, and I can't remember what studio it was, but Kitty O'Day was also a female detective. Um, I wouldn't, for the life of me, I wouldn't send Bradford Galt, right, who is the detective in the Dark Corner that Mark Stevens plays in the
No, it's in Lucille Ball.
send Lucille Ball instead because he's actually not very good, and
She would be fine.
yeah, and of course if I sent Mark McPherson after you, he'd fall in love with your portrait and waste a lot of time trying to find you.
I do have a portrait a friend did of me in pastels that's in my
See,
bedroom.
see, that's your Laura moment. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm not sending Philip Marlowe. I'm not because I'd have to decide which one, and then they'd all get angry at me. Do
Uh,
you pick Dick Powell or do you pick Humphrey Bogart or God? We're not picking George Montgomery,
no.
but So anyway, that was fun. So who's coming after me again? You're sending
The
somebody
Continental
to look.
Op.
The Continental Op. That's right. The
Telling you.
Continental Op is going to be looking for me.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I can give him the slip. How do you know that I didn't disappear on purpose? The way things are going, I might just do that at some point. Vanish on purpose.
This is gonna be like the Flitcraft story.
Yeah, that would be me. Yes, I just do the whole. I don't think I'd be able to get a job at TCM again.
You just go
But
somewhere else and wind up programming film festival.
yeah, I mean, I could do. I'm sure I could do that overseas. I'm sure I could con my way into a film programmer job there. But anyway,
Anyway,
okay, that was fun. That was good, and we got our first lightning round. I promise that in the future I will be more lightning fast about it, and just give the quick answers.
so I watched finally, so I got Netflix temporarily because there's a couple of things I wanted to watch. I finally watched the fifth season of You, and the ending was it was so bad. It's just like the sort of like TikTok feminism. And the thing that bothered me about it is I don't know if you're familiar with the series or the books. The
This is
books are
the
really
this
good.
is the what's the guy's name? Jamie Dornan or something?
Penn Badgley, I think is his name. But but
Yeah,
yeah,
I,
yeah. So the books are, and it's on Netflix. And basically, he's a psychopath. And he becomes first series he becomes obsessed with this woman, and he's stalking her and all this stuff, and the books are better. I'll just say that
okay.
straight out. So, but for the series, they changed like things around to make his character more sympathetic and stuff. And women have always been kind of like that. The lead actor's always been a little taken aback because women are always like, "Oh, Joe's so sexy," or "I wish he was my stalker," that kind of stuff. So in like the last one, right, the series, like they have this whole thing where they kind of in universe, Joe sort of gets discovered killing someone. It's kind of a long story. And so they're doing the reaction. A lot of the reactions online to him are things kind of that like the fans of the show had said. And it was just like, okay, you don't get to like after 5 seasons of making him the protagonist and changing his character to be more likable, then turn around and scold your fucking audience.
Oh,
Pardon my French for doing that. What I'm saying? It's like you guys
yeah,
made that
yeah.
choice, and for you suddenly, and also they were just trying to do like this sort of feminist thing at the end, but it's like feminism in a stupid way. You know what
Well,
I
it's
mean? It's just
yeah.
like,
I mean, I'll be honest. I
ugh.
I started watching that show in the first season, and I didn't get through The first season, because there was just something off-putting about the whole thing to me.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what it was. It was just like, how much time do I really want to invest in this?
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I have a significant problem with long form shows like this. Like,
Yeah.
to me, it's one of the worst things about contemporary entertainment is that everything overstays its welcome, because
Yeah.
when somebody creates something and it like they hit on that idea that catches, great. Then the money people come in and say, do it again, do it again, do it again. And it's like they're browbeating creative people into producing more and more because it's the formula has proven successful. And it's basically they're just sucking the life out of it and every last nickel out of it until it's no longer interesting. And
Yeah.
and I know that actors would never in a million years come out and say that because they're making really good money doing this stuff. But I'm telling you, if I was an actor, I would be, I would have to ask myself seriously, like, do I want to commit to 5 seasons of playing this character? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, we'll give you more money. And it's like, and they always take the money,
Yeah.
and it's like, really, you don't have whatever. That's just, you
Yeah.
know,
And I don't, like I said, it was just, yeah. I mean, I would suggest spending your time reading the books instead, um, rather than the series. I mean, I wound up watching it just because I did. I skipped one of the seasons because they set it here in the sort of greater like Bay Area, and it was about sort of rich people here, and it was, I mean, it was satirical, but it was like I don't need to watch a season of these people. I
right.
live here, so I kind of skipped that one. Yeah, but it was just like I said, I think that the thing that bothers me about this series is that, you know, trying to post this sort of feminist ending after everything they did in the other seasons was very like
Well, because
facile.
they're trying to appease everybody,
Yeah.
and it's just like, see, that's another thing. I don't know how you feel about this stuff. And then I do have to go
Okay.
cook dinner for Kathleen.
Okay.
Um, but sometimes I have real issues with that interactive nature of entertainment on television now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't mind interactive nature like this, that people watch and make comments and stuff. But it is weird when you're making, multiple seasons of a story, and then the viewers assume ownership
Mm-hmm.
of the show and start posting like, you need to do this, you need to do that. And then the people actually like go to the writers and say, this is what the people want, you need to do this. And it's like, Jesus Christ, really? Well, if it wasn't 5 seasons, they would never do that,
Yeah.
because it's just like, here it is, it's done. you know I mean, I miss those days of like, here it is, take it or leave it, this is the thing I made, live with it.
Yeah.
you know uh but when it goes on and on, then people are bound to be critical, because it's like, I'm not getting what I needed out of this. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, so what? you
Yeah.
know you
And
know
also, I think sometimes when they base something on a book and sort of change vital fact, like because they did that with Dexter too. Like the Dexter novels are so much better than the series, and they make a significant change to the ending of the first one, which really kind of changed the character and also sort of the story going forward. And then they stopped trying after the second one. They stopped trying to adapt the novels, and the same thing happened with You. They did the first two books and then kind of went there. But I mean, I think part of it is because like Dexter and Joe aren't really, I mean, they're the main characters in the book, but they're not really the protagonists because they're
yeah,
not good people.
yeah,
And then once you try and make them likable, then you're kind of inherently, it's kind of a problem. And
of
then,
course, of
you
course.
know,
But same as it ever was. I mean,
yeah,
Hollywood had these same arguments all the way back, to its earliest days. But it's funny. I'm reading this book right now, and I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember the name of it. It's it's about the development of uh, cable TV, and streaming and all of that stuff. And it all kind of started with HBO. And it was very interesting to note that in its earliest days, cable television succeeded by giving the public everything that they could not get on broadcast television.
Yeah.
And none of it had any kind of feedback from the audience. It was just like, when they made The Sopranos, it was The Sopranos. And it's like the characters do stuff that was impossible for characters to do. And a show like Oz, the prison show,
Yeah.
like there was no precedent for this. And basically everything that we know now about streaming and all of these services that exist today, right? Netflix and Hulu and HBO Max and Paramount Plus, and all of that exists because HBO blazed the trail
Hmm.
by giving people stuff that they didn't even know they wanted.
Yeah.
Right? It was like people didn't know that you could do this, but because it was on cable and you paid for it and it wasn't just free TV floating around, the old rules didn't apply. And to me, there's such a lesson in that. Like now, everything is calculated down to the most minute thing of this is what we know people want, and we're going to give it to them. And it's like, man, the only thing that really makes an impression at all, ever, is when it's something out of left field and people didn't see it coming.
Well, like Squid Game.
Yeah,
Look how
Squid Game is
huge Squid Game is. And
yeah,
it's good. And I really enjoyed. I mean, they called it season 2 and 3, but really it was just a pretty much a second story arc. And that was great. And people just weren't. But the thing was it was because it's relatable to people. Because we all
yeah,
have money problems. I mean, is what it comes
yeah,
down to. Is
yeah,
everything is squeezed so tight right now with the haves and
yes,
have-nots, and so people just, no matter where they were in the world, they could relate to that story.
yes. But it's always been that way, that the trail is blazed by people who have the guts to do something different, and then everybody jumps on it and tries to carve out their dough off somebody else's creative work. I mean,
Yeah,
you remember when Twin Peaks appeared on broadcast television? I mean, the people in charge of ABC didn't know what the fuck to do with it.
yeah,
It was like they couldn't wait to get that off TV any faster, right? And
yeah,
of course, David Lynch ended up being, without question, the most influential filmmaker of our lifetime,
yeah,
right? Uh, he rewrote all the rules for how you tell a story in this medium, and yet the the people who control everything were like, this guy's a lunatic, get him off television. I was like, he just kept doing whatever he was doing, God bless him, just because he wasn't doing it for the money. That was the key thing, and he made just enough money, just like the Coen brothers. They're obviously not doing it for the money. They make just enough to keep going,
yeah,
and that's the secret. So anyway, I don't
yeah,
know what got
yeah.
me off on that tangent, other than you know I can't stand corporate America. Other than that,
Okay.
everything's
Other than that, everything's fine. So just really quick, if you're watching on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. If you can leave comments, that really, really helps. Also, just for people in general, just to remind you that the Film Noir Foundation raises money to restore films, as we were talking about at the beginning of the show. And if you'd like to help us with that mission, you can donate to us at filmnoirfoundation.org. If you contribute $20 or more and sign up on our emailing list, you do get the quarterly magazine, and that's the digital version that we send to you a link to download. And if you don't want to donate, but you just want the newsletter, then you can sign up for our newsletter, and that's where I solicit the questions for the show. And just so everybody knows, so If people don't know because you're new, so we're about a year behind in answering questions, which is why we decided to throw in a lightning round going forward to try and get closer to where we are
Okay.
now. And I am trying to I'm more mindful now of when the questions come in, that if anything, like the Summer of Stars question was something we kind of needed to answer now,
Okay,
since
cool.
you know
So, Ann, I'm giving you permission in future lightning rounds to just cut me off.
okay.
Just say, that's enough, Eddie.
Yeah, I'll
You
get a
answer,
little
you'd answered it.
bell.
You answered it. Yeah. Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding,
Lightning
ding.
round is over. Okay, very good.
Let's go.
All right, I'm going to
Okay,
go make some dinner. And Emily looks very happy there. She just snuggled up. I'm going to go see how Tizzy is doing.
cool.
And that's it. And I'll see you. I'll see you soon.
See y'all soon. Thank you, everybody. Good
Thank
night.
you, everybody. Good night.